Long Beach in California is America's Monaco, a street circuit which twists and turns its way through the city and along the seashore past the landlocked Queen Mary Hotel. To do well on the 2-mile lap, the car needs good brakes, good traction and a very strong transmission. And the driver needs stamina, for the race is a really grueling 80 laps. In the World Championship, it's been Renault's year so far, with René Arnoux leading after 2 wins. Alan Jones, barely recovered from pleurisy in the Williams, is second. Then Nelson Piquet in the Brabham, Didier Pironi in the Ligier, his teammate Jacques Laffite and Lotus's Elio De Angelis. But without a point between them so far are the 2 Ferrari drivers, world champion Jody Scheckter and last year's winner Gilles Villeneuve. Neither has had a good practice, and as they wait to start the warm-up lap, it's the Brabham of Piquet in pole position. Alongside him, René Arnoux going for a hat-trick after winning in Brazil and South Africa. Row 2, a real surprise, Patrick Depailler in the Alfa Romeo and Dutchman Jan Lammers in the ATS. Row 3, Alan Jones and the second Alfa with Bruno Giacomelli. Then Reutemann and Patrese ahead of Pironi and Villeneuve. And there are 3 drivers from Great Britain who have not qualified. Stephen South, Jeff Lees and Dave Kennedy from Ireland. So on they go to the warm-up lap.
Well, the interesting thing for this race, the big question mark, I think, Murray, is really whether the Renault can go well on the street circuit. They've already proved their terrific dominance with their powerful turbocharged engine on the fast circuits. We haven't seen them with their new car on a slow circuit yet since they introduced it in the middle of last season. And if they can go well here, if the Renault, who is already on the front row, albeit with a slightly messy practice because the circuit got very oily and it's not a truly representative grid perform, but if it can go well here, then we have to say that, quite frankly, the World Championship looks well wrapped up for Renault. But despite his front row position, the question mark does remain, and we have to wait and see what happens in the race.
And we haven't got very long to wait because the 24 cars are now coming up to the start point. Indeed, there is Nelson Piquet in the Brabham on the left. On your right, René Arnoux in the 1.5-litre turbocharged Renault. In the background, in the Scarlet Alfa Romeo, the Frenchman Patrick Depailler. A brilliant practice drive. And now the revs rising. It's going to be a long, grueling race, and away they go for 80 laps. And that's a long, long way around this Long Beach circuit. A long shoreline drive and down to Queen's Hairpin, a very slow right-hander. Here they are coming towards us. It's Piquet leading. On the right is Arnoux second, then Depailler in third position, and somebody on the right has hit the wall. Somebody has hit the wall on the right. It's one of the Brabhams. It's Zunino. It's Ricardo Zunino, the Argentinian driver, and he's obviously quite all right from the athletic way that he's leaping out of the race. And his teammate Nelson Piquet leads from Patrick Depailler. There is the Brabham. In second position, the Alfa Romeo. In third position, it is René Arnoux.
Yes, well, with the pressure of street circuit, where overtaking is so difficult, it's really always tends to be a big scrum at the first corner. And as usual, we've had a little bit of bumping and boring in the middle. Andretti seems to have taken off there. It looks like Andretti's car, and Zunino seems to have been the person who came off worst and got bumped into the wall there. In fact, that was quite a small shunt for a first lap thing in a street circuit like this, where they've really got to stake everything on getting a good place out of the first corner.
And on the far side of the circuit, Nelson Piquet in the immaculate Brabham BT49 has got a clear track in front of him. Patrick Depailler behind him in second position. Ricardo Zunino well and truly out of the race. René Arnoux in third position, and the turbocharged Renault going well under these difficult circumstances. There in fourth place, look for the white car of Alan Jones. There he is. Fifth is Giacomelli. Sixth is Patrese. Seventh Reutemann, and in eighth place it's still Gilles Villeneuve in the Ferrari. And now you can see how like Monaco this Long Beach circuit is in terms of characteristics, because it's very, very twisty and tremendously demanding. And watch the accuracy with which Piquet, the leader, and the rest behind him place their cars. Because if you put a car an inch or so out of position here, you can hit a wall, one of those concrete barriers, and that can be very final indeed as far as the wheels are concerned. Piquet leads. Depailler second, plunging downhill. Piquet in only his second season of Grand Prix racing, and look at this for speed. This is a comparatively slow part of the circuit, and look how quickly they're going. The two Tyrrells about halfway down the field, going through the town. That's Mario Andretti. Mario Andretti, who won this race in 1977, world champion in 1978, there in the Lotus 81. Looks to me as though he's out of contention, because Bob Dance, the chief mechanic, has his hand on the steering wheel and is pushing the car, and Mario Andretti is out. Nelson Piquet still leading, coming towards us now, and in second position it's Depailler, and Alan Jones is up into third place ahead of René Arnoux, and somebody's spinning. It's Giacomelli. Giacomelli in the red Alfa Romeo has spun, and we're not looking at it. There is Depailler second, Jones third, Arnoux fourth, and I imagine that Giacomelli will have got his car going again with difficulty, and the leaders are bearing down on that corner now. And look at it, that's Giacomelli on the left. On the right, in the white car, is Reutemann. They're threading their way through. Behind Reutemann is Jody Scheckter. There's another car behind Scheckter. It's Chiva. And somebody hopping out of his car. He's hurt his leg. It's De Angelis. Elio De Angelis is hopping out of the car as Giacomelli tries to get going again. The problem is, look at the yellow flag being waved in the background. Can they clear the circuit as Carlos Reutemann gesticulates furiously? Get me out of this. Giacomelli gets away. Reutemann is still stationary. There is Scheckter. A wheel. All those cars have got wheels on them, so there must be another car involved in this fracas as Chiva's car is pushed away. Elio De Angelis' car stationary in the background, and any second now the leaders will be arriving, fortunately, to a comparatively clear track. The Lotus is still there. There is the leader, Nelson Piquet first, Patrick Depailler second, Alan Jones third, and René Arnoux fourth. Patrese fifth, and Villeneuve right behind him in sixth position.
Well, Villeneuve seems to be making a very fine charge up the field. He's come right back up from quite a lowly grid position. He's going very well. That shunt has really split the field up too. There seemed to be a big gap, and here we seem to have a replay, but we didn't catch what exactly happened. We saw Giacomelli start to spin, and what I presume happened as he spun, somebody anchored up very hard, and we just had a simply sort of motorway type accident with people piling into each other's backsides. But it's hard to say exactly what happened. The rest, and those are the cars that all piled in were the cars that were immediately following Giacomelli at that time during the race. But that's certainly a great blow for the race, because we've lost the strength of the midfield, quite frankly.
Well, I saw Jarrier's car rolling out of the picture slowly there, and I guess that's the one with the wheel off from the way it was travelling. And we're looking at a car now with four wheels very, very much on it. Nelson Piquet, a long gap. Look, a clear track behind him. Piquet the leader. Jan Lammers, incidentally, the man who did so well in practicing, is out of the race on the very first lap with a clutch trouble, and that's cruel luck. And there's a lot of cars out of this race already. Lap 17, and we're looking at the battle for second place, Depailler and Jones.
Well, Jones has got to do something about Depailler quickly. He's been pressing him for a little while now. He's got to get past him. He's quicker than him, but it's very difficult to pass here, particularly the powerful Alfa. And if he doesn't get past soon, he's going to be in big trouble, because Piquet is just pulling away. And he's going through. That's a wonderful manoeuvre. I think he fooled Depailler into blocking the inside, and he nipped down the outside, a trick that I tried on Depailler in 1976 and ended up in the wall, but Depailler this time kept well over to the right. That was an exceptionally intelligent piece of driving by Alan Jones. I think he'd been winding him up by fainting down the inside for a few laps, got Depailler able to defend the inside and left the door wide open on the outside. That was great driving by Jones.
So, Alan Jones up to second position. There he is. Car number 27, the Saudi Leyland Williams. Behind him, the Alfa Romeo of Patrick Depailler, who has recovered completely from his hang gliding accident last year, in which he broke both his legs before moving to the Alfa Romeo team from Ligier. And Alan Jones, who won in the Argentine Grand Prix this year, and is in second position in the championship, and that is Villeneuve up into fourth position in the Ferrari. He has overtaken Patrese, he has overtaken René Arnoux, and Villeneuve, the man who won last year and broke the lap record, is up into fourth place.
Well, Villeneuve seems to be the man to watch at the moment. He's charged up the field, but I have a suspicion that he's chosen a soft compounded tyre, which is why he's gone very quick early on, because he's steadied out now and he's not moving through the field as fast as he was.
Alan Jones in second position ahead of Depailler, and where is Depailler? Look, there's a long gap now before Depailler, and Depailler hasn't even appeared. Alan Jones seems to be on his own now in second place, having caught up and passed Patrick Depailler. Clear track behind him. Depailler has either dropped back or he's hit trouble. That's a Tyrrell. One of the Candy Tyrrells is Derek Daly. That is Jabouille in the Renault, and there, locking up his wheel, is Villeneuve. So Villeneuve is up a place again. He's up into third position, and we just have news that Patrick Depailler has spun, not out of contention altogether as you see, but down into fourth position. And René Arnoux is fifth, and Derek Daly, having gone off the course, having overshot a corner, regains it. So Derek Daly on the course, going well in the Tyrrell, and there is Alan Jones, 10 seconds behind Nelson Piquet, catching the midfield men, Regazzoni in the yellow car and Fittipaldi.
Yes, I think that there may have been contact between Derek Daly and Villeneuve then, because Villeneuve, I just noticed, has got a slightly bent front wing. Daly was getting away from being off the track, and they were right together, and Villeneuve was trying to pass him. The leaders now are well in amongst the back markers, which is a big problem at Long Beach and at any street circuit, because whilst you've got to get past them quickly, you can't afford to take any risks, because obviously you're better off being in the race than taking a risk and being out of it. But every time, for instance, Alan Jones now is behind back markers. If he doesn't get through him quickly, Piquet is meanwhile pulling away because he's got a clear road in front of him. He's behind Fittipaldi and Clay Regazzoni in front of him.
Yes, in the yellow car, it's ex-world champion Emerson Fittipaldi, and right behind him is Alan Jones, and number 14 is Clay Regazzoni, who won the British Grand Prix last year at a Williams, and now in an Ensign car for his fourth Grand Prix. Regazzoni and Fittipaldi moves over. Alan Jones goes through on braking and moves up past the 9th place man to close up on the 8th place man, Clay Regazzoni, and in front of Alan Jones still, of course, is Piquet. Villeneuve.
Yes, there is Villeneuve. You can see the bent front wing now. We cheated and had a peek before. He's got a slight kink in the front wing. I don't think that will in fact affect his car's performance at all, and there's quite a good chance that from his position in the cockpit he won't even be able to see that there's any damage to the car.
Well, Gilles Villeneuve, using his Long Beach track craft, the winner last year, I remind you, quicker than anybody until this year. Although Nelson Piquet is going very well indeed. There is Villeneuve sandwiched between those two cars, and we have news that Nelson Piquet has broken the lap record, 1 minute 19.8.
Villeneuve's wings collapsed a little bit more. I still don't think that will be a problem for him, because even if it breaks off, it won't be any harm. The rest of the wing seems solid, and a small damage to the front wing like that will be unlikely to seriously affect the performance of the car.
Nelson Piquet leading. This man's coolness is quite incredible considering his comparative lack of experience. BP Formula 3 champion in Britain the year before last, then to Formula 1, and now he is leading and on his way, seemingly, unless the car breaks down, to winning this Long Beach Grand Prix of 1980. And somebody has decided that Villeneuve was come in, because there he is. That's Villeneuve, who was in third position into the pits.
Yeah, but he's had all 4 tyres changed as well, and I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't more the problem with the tyres than with his front wing, Murray, because he was charging through the field very hard to start off with, and then he slowed right down before his wing got damaged. His charge seemed to have come out, so I suspect his tyres were going off.
And
but they're having an awful problem getting that nose on, by the look of things. That was a very slow pit stop, particularly by Ferrari standards, who are noted for being one of the best drilled pit crews in Grand Prix racing.
38 seconds long, and that's too long, I suspect, for Villeneuve, because he's got a terrific amount to make up now. So, as we look at the leader, Nelson Piquet, behind him Alan Jones in second place, and back again to third position in the Renault comes the championship leader Arnoux, and that's Villeneuve's car. Villeneuve is out of the race. Look, it's parked right off the course. Surely it can't be nose cone trouble again. It couldn't put him out of the race. And surely it can't be tyres, but either way, it's yet another Ferrari retirement in this fourth Grand Prix of 1980. Villeneuve, last year's winner, out. Nelson Piquet, we are looking at. Alan Jones in second position, so one of the potential threats to young Nelson Piquet in his 23rd Grand Prix and 8 years of driving has been removed. And that's Alan Jones's car. What an incredible race this is turning out to be, because Alan Jones, the second place man, second in the World Championship, is out of the race at Queen's Hairpin for some reason we know not, and I hear that Riccardo Patrese has passed René Arnoux and is up into second place. The race is really coming alive.
Yes, well, in fact, it's coming alive in the midfield, Murray, but we've got Nelson Piquet right out in front now because his main threat has gone. Alan Jones was running about 10-12 seconds behind him. Arnoux slowed down a bit. There is Patrese, but he's well behind. And it looks as if Piquet's got a pretty clear run to the flag now. He's just got to look after himself in the car.
Patrese in second place, the ex-double world champion in karts, sixth in Brazil this year, led in South Africa in 78 and then retired. And smoke and dust and debris at Queen's Hairpin. This is where all the action is taking place, and that looks like too much action, because it's Regazzoni. Regazzoni has gone off the course in a big way, and there's a crash tender coming up. There's a car, you can just see through the dust to the left, to the back of the crash tender. The firemen get off. It's Regazzoni's car, the ensign, and as we look at Nelson Piquet, the problem is, and we're all very worried about it, what has happened to the 40-year-old warrior, Clay Regazzoni. Now we'll see, hopefully, and that is not Regazzoni's car to the left. Regazzoni is still in the car.
Yes, that's Clay's car there.
Regazzoni's still in the car, and sadly it's been a race of crashes, for earlier on there was that dramatic pile-up at Les Gazomech after Giacomelli spun and brought 5 cars to a standstill. Let's hear from Carlos Reutemann.
Giacomelli made a very big mistake before the straight. He made a pan the car before the hairpin, and he left the gate for all the crew, all the people behind him pass. And he put reverse and closed the gate. The track was absolutely blocked for everybody. It was a complete disaster.
Carlos Reutemann, far from pleased with Bruno Giacomelli, and his team leader Alan Jones was put out with the Italian too when he was involved in that incident with Giacomelli, which put the Australian out of the race.
Well, I got behind Giacomelli. There was a group of 3 of them. I think it was Dina Peroni and Jochen Mass and Giacomelli. And I was scared they were going to hold me up, and I got a good toe from him down the back straight. He pulled out of his slipstream to get him on the inside to the Queen's Hairpin. I got my nose alongside him, and then he just turned right and drove over me.
This, of course, isn't the only incident Giacomelli's had this race. Your friend Carlos Reutemann was telling me he hit his car as well.
Yeah, I think he's been given a contract on Team Williams.
Alan Jones talking to Barry Gill. But as we watch the leader, there's news that Regazzoni is conscious and that he's speaking, and that, heaven knows, is good news. And there's the Zanino car, which Regazzoni hit on his way to the background there. Regazzoni's still in the car, and there in the pits, that's the third place man, or was. It's Arnoux changing all his tyres on the Renault. So René Arnoux, who was leading the championship, is slipping out of the points. Lap 79 out of 80. Regazzoni, who was trapped in his car for 25 minutes, has been taken to hospital. He has a broken leg, he has possible spine injuries, but he is conscious and he is speaking. And Elio De Angelis, who crashed earlier on, has only sprained his foot. Nelson Piquet then is on his way to victory. He has led from flag to flag with a lap record, and it looks like he's going to win his first Grand Prix.
Well, above all, I do hope that Clay Regazzoni is okay. That looked like a really horrendous accident, and we just wait and hope that the news is not too bad when we hear from the hospital properly. In the meantime, Nelson Piquet has really driven an absolutely magnificent race. He's driven he's earned his first win with all the maturity that he's shown previously in his Grand Prix career. He came straight into it and has driven in a really mature fashion right from the start of his Grand Prix career. He handled very hard pressure early in the race. He got away, he did everything right, and then when at about half distance, when everybody dropped out, he was on his own. He slowed right down. He even had the intelligence and the lack of ego to allow himself to be unlapped, or to unlap himself from a couple of cars. He let people through. He was going so slowly, just looking after his lead, looking after himself. He didn't put a foot wrong. The Brabham ran perfectly for him, and it's a very, very well-deserved first win if he can just make it round the rest of the lap.
Out of Pine Avenue and up towards Ocean Boulevard for the 80th and last time. Nelson Piquet must be keeping his fingers crossed, but he hardly need bother because he's home. Nelson Piquet has won the American Grand Prix at Long Beach, his first race in the Brabham BT49, a magnificent drive. His first win in this car. He has driven in several other races before this season, of course. His first Grand Prix win for the young Brazilian, and surely we are going to see very many more because he's got experience way over his years. He took over from ex-world champion Niki Lauda to become team leader under very trying circumstances, and he's more than justified his colours. Brilliant driving. So, to check on the result, 9 wonderful points for the winner, Nelson Piquet. 6 for Riccardo Patrese in second place, and Emerson Fittipaldi gets 4, with John Watson in fourth place, 3 points. Jody Scheckter, the first Ferrari points of 1980, in fifth position, and Jochen Mass makes it 2 arrows in the first 6. That changes the World Champion situation because Piquet shares the lead with Arnoux. Alan Jones goes down to third place, but still in striking distance, and Pironi and Patrese share fourth place. So, what a day in the life of Nelson Piquet. Happiness probably like he's never known before, and like he will never know again until perhaps he wins the World Championship. And I suspect that isn't so very far off. Nelson Piquet from Brazil. And in 5 weeks' time, on May the 4th, the 1980 World Championship Series returns to Europe at Zolder in Belgium. And Grand Prix on BBC Two will be there, of course, and we hope you'll be with us.